the future of PlayStation. And it turns out that the PS6 isn't going to be one console or two consoles, it's going to be three consoles. And one of them is going to be a super powered Nintendo Switch.
Gamester with another W. So you're telling me, Dreamcast guy, that PlayStation is doing the same thing that Microsoft is doing by not subsidizing their hardware? You know, for all those PlayStation fanboys that thought they were going to get a premium product for $500, well, guess what? That is going to be $1,000 and up. Enjoy your Series S version of a PlayStation 6 going forward to PlayStation's next generation platforms.
Handheld, that's dockable, that's playable, and it's actually kind of cheap. Now, we're going to talk about this because it sounds like next gen, according to these specs, is not going to be very visually impressive. It sounds like the PlayStation 6 is, of course, going to be more powerful, but the leaps between...
Depending on how much you're willing to spend. We try to warn you guys already, man. Console gaming is dead in the traditional sense of what I was trying to warn you. This has more to do with the fact that they're trying to push for a live service and subscription. That's why they're doing. They're going to be like, okay, all our games are going to be supported on all these devices. But are you guys going to say that the low-end PlayStation 6 version of the game, are you guys going to say that that's holding the gaming generation back? Because you guys did that with the Series S. Just for you guys to find out that Sony's going to be doing the same thing coming into next generation, but yet we're going to hear nothing but crickets. I thought that was holding gaming back, you know, low-end hardware. How about you make the games on the premium device, you know? Get them 4K, get them 8K textures. It was way wasting, right? Oh, yeah, you know, the same stuff they promised on the PS5, but we never got it. And they're probably going to promise it on the PlayStation 6, and we still ain't going to get it there. But even if you pay $1,000, okay, you know what? At this point, go to PC.
In consoles, the gap is getting narrower. It sounds like the big push is to find extra markets to basically say, okay, how can we have our own dedicated handheld? How can we basically beat everybody else at their game? And it sounds like the major focus of this is to have next gen for cheap. Let's talk.
Oh, really? Because the Series S does that same thing, and y'all sat there and chastised that little poor device. You know, I'm just a Series S. You know, I can do exactly what the big model do, my big brother Series X. Y'all were out here telling people, what do you mean next generation for cheap? You hear this, fool? You know you PlayStation fanboys ain't feeling this. Cut the cap, bro. Now they know that PlayStation's going to be going in the same direction as Microsoft with their little series versions of PlayStations. Now all of a sudden, they still pushing next generation? What are you talking about? How are you going to be able to get a 4K resolution on a PlayStation 6 little $300, $400 Lunchable box? If you want the real PlayStation 6 experience, you're going to be paying $1,000 and up. If that's what the PS5 Pro told you.
I just want my games to run good. I just reviewed Metal Gear Solid Delta yesterday.
Well, guess what? You don't need the most premium product to do that. This is what I was trying to tell you, man. They're going to be pushing these boxes no different than what Microsoft's doing with a different label. PlayStation's going to have their own series equivalent as to what Microsoft did this generation. And that's exactly what it is. You're going to be playing the same games, but guess what? They're all going to be made with the low-end hardware, which is what a lot of you PlayStation fanboys are against. But yet, for some reason, you guys have no problem that PlayStation is doing it, but when Microsoft did it, it was a problem. Oh, they holding back gaming. That's why they didn't get Black Myth Wukong and this and this and that. But yet, you guys are on bandwagon with this?
They did a big video about that. It's blowing up, by the way. Thank you for that. But that game does not run very well. It looks photorealistic, but it doesn't run very well.
But it should, though. And the funny thing is about what Porter Rock said, oh, well, you guys are bashing the Pro. Listen, the Pro version, Porter Rock, runs worse than the version on PS5. That's why people complaining. You trying to deter it to PC gaming and say, look at that. Even though it's running at a 4K native resolution, what kind of frames is that? Medium settings. You know, doesn't excuse the fact as to why the Pro still runs worse than the PS5 version. Okay? You paid for that upgrade, and yet you ain't getting one with this game, Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta. So, like I said, man, it's going to come down. You're going to have your $400, $500, you know, $800, probably $1,000 platform and up. You know, that's probably why Microsoft is doing it, and these companies are no longer going to subsidize the hardware. Now, it's only going to be a matter of, is this $400, $500 next-gen PlayStation 6 going to be that much different than what you already have with your PlayStation 5? Like you said, it's just about playing games and performance. Well, guess what? Most games will still be able to achieve that, even on a PS5. So when we talk about gaming hitting its limits, we're mostly speaking in the facts that companies don't want to spend millions of dollars for a game to fail. So those days of exclusivity and Sega pushing that that don't exist, blast processing power on that Sega Genesis to its maximum, well, guess what? Those days don't exist no more because they're going to be making it for the lowest common denominator, and you're going to get a upscaled, up-res version on the newer platform. So technically speaking, you guys are getting old gen games and you're paying $1,000 to get a much more cleaner experience. That is embarrassing, man. At this point, now I see why people go on a PC. I can see it now, because if this is what y'all doing, then there's really no point of a console.
Dockable, and Sony may be targeting a price point to compete with the Nintendo Switch 2. This is according to the new leak by Moore's Law is Dead. Alright, a lot of people are like, I am a big fan of handhelds.
What is this man doing, bro? Take that home, bro. Like, what is this guy doing, man? This man's sitting at a park with his, what is that, a Steam Deck, Nintendo Switch 2? Come on.
The idea of being able to game at the gym or on trips and stuff, to me, very fascinating.
Bro, this guy is such a loser, bro. Hey, yo, why are you even doing that, man? Hey, somebody trying to have a picnic table on that table you using, man. Take that Switch 2 out of here.
Personally, I am willing to do those sacrifices to resolution or brightness, whatever it takes to make the game run. Microsoft has a mandate. If you put a feature on Xbox Series X, it has to be on S. You don't have to stay at the same frame rate or resolution or load times, but everything that exists on the Series X has to exist on the Series S. Basically, if you have split screen co-op on one, you gotta have split screen co-op on the other. But because the power SKUs are so different, it more than doubled the work. It made sometimes some games way longer, way harder to do.
So what do you think is gonna do with the PlayStation 6 if they decide to do the same thing? But yet you advocate it's gonna be cheap though. Why? Because it has a PlayStation label? We know you ponies are against the Series S model. So why are you guys using it for the PlayStation 6 now?
People have basically said, yeah, man, I hate to be that guy, but it's way more expensive. I'd rather just put it only on the PS5 because I develop it for one system and it just works, right? So it seems like it's weird that they would copy that. Hopefully Sony does not make that same set of rules, but I think maybe...
Oh, yeah, they most definitely will. Because you know why? Sony don't want to be putting these big budgets into these games anyway. I mean, if anything told you guys about this generation, that this generation has been nothing but a joke, all the real gamers have left. We all just bought our retro games. We're all just looking at you buffoons, you know, thinking that these, you know, $500 Lunchable boxes that you buy at GameStop, you know, you essentially set-top box PCs at this point. We're just laughing at you. Gaming is already over. If you're one of those old head gamers and you still fighting over this console war stuff, then you clearly don't see what's in front of you, man.
It kind of have to. If you put something on PlayStation 6, it has to exist on our handheld, it has to exist on our console, and it has to exist...
Which is funny because if you notice, they're taking that strategy from Microsoft with the Xbox Play Anywhere. This is literally to combat that. You do understand that.
Our lower-powered handheld, or our lower-powered console...
And now ask yourself, do you think you're going to be able to play your PlayStation games on it? Or are you going to be able to do it through an app? The same application that you guys are bashing on the...
That could end up very, very, very much holding back the entire console generation. And honestly, it would be a baffling decision, in my opinion.
Well, that's what's happening.
Like the Series X, PlayStation 6 Series S would be the lowest common denominator, and studios would make their games PlayStation 6 or next gen only, happen to design around it.
They ain't doing it. They making it for the lowest common denominator because they do it even on PC. So you people don't know nothing about hardware. This is what people try to tell you. They're not pushing the full envelope of these consoles. Those days is long over. The days that they're doing now is by trying to put their games everywhere so they can make the most and maximize as much profit as they can.
Even more ironic is that the Xbox Next Gen does not have a lower performance SKU model, only one performance model, though devs may still design it around the much weaker ROG Ally X. Why PlayStation is copying the split SKU of Xbox strategy is that fared so poorly and was publicly disliked by so many developers when they themselves previously stated split SKUs don't work, I'm unsure. That's what a lot of comments have been about. A lot of people are like, bro, I mean, this is the thing. It's easier to develop for a single full-powered system than multiple systems at once.
No, that's not true, because guess what? By doing that, you're losing out at a core market of fans that would have willingly bought the game. When essentially what you're saying, screw the casuals, worry about... They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. Why do you think free-to-play is so successful? Because they're still supporting old gen, even though they got the next-gen versions, and they got it on PC, and they got it practically on everything. That's where the money's at, especially with how high the budgets of games that have been getting. We have fully realized, I've already been through this, that the more places where people can buy and play your games, the more money they can get. They're willing to take these sacrifices. You think these companies care about these developers? PlayStation and Microsoft are only doing it because they care about themselves.
I think I'm in a spot where I think I'm still excited about PlayStation 6.
Of course you are.
I love next.
Of course. Because you're a PlayStation fanboy. Because if it was Microsoft, which they have been doing it, you'd be bashing it. You're one of the main advocates when it comes to bashing the Series S for its underpowered hardware and as to why next gen ain't popping off like it's supposed to, for you to go as far to advocate it on PlayStation. Like, bro, that is the definition of a fanboy, bro.
Gen gaming. But I think what strikes my interest the most is how powerful that handheld is going to be and what the prices are going to be. If Sony can beat them on cost, if they can beat them on exclusives, I don't think the raw power of the system is going to be as important. But what do you guys think? Are you excited about that?
But it's also going to stop people from buying consoles. It's going to make consoles obsolete. And Sony doesn't care. Y'all like, what do you mean? If you're paying to play these same games online on PlayStation 5 and you can't afford to buy a PlayStation 6, you think they care? It's just like with the Switch 1 and Switch 2. Hey, Nintendo, we're boycotting. Now, mind you, I'm boycotting because I don't agree with what Nintendo's doing. But for you people to take the sense, I'm boycotting Nintendo. Oh, really? You're boycotting Nintendo? Yeah, I'm going to continue to... You think Nintendo cares? In Nintendo's eyes, you're still giving them money for low-end hardware. So if you choose not to upgrade, Nintendo's still getting your money off old gen. No different than PS4 and 5. I think Sony does care now because they're going to try to transition those all to PlayStation 6. So there's a reason now. But besides that, and also, too, they want to make... You know what? You know why Sony is trying to tell Jensen Impact not to take their games off old gen? Because they want those Fortnite players... Because remember, they can play it on PS4 for free. They want those Fortnite. And if you notice, they're using Grand Theft Auto 6 to push it because they know that... Oh, hold on. Because they know GTA 6, you think about it, GTA 6 is not coming to PS4. It's only coming to PS5 and Xbox Series S and X. So Sony's like, hold on. We need them to upgrade. That's so crazy. Not even for exclusives, but for a third party. We need them to upgrade now because for every person that's playing GTA 5, we can be making monthly membership money on PlayStation 5 because they're playing that game online. You see? Y'all like, oh, snap games. I see what you're saying. It's all about their personal growth because they know whoever buys a PS5, they're buying it for GTA 6 and they're going to give a monthly membership solely directly to PlayStation just to play that said game online. That is lost revenue to Sony. That's why they're like, no, Jensen, PUBG, y'all got to stop this old gen crap. We need these people to upgrade and we need them to upgrade now. Let's also raise the price up, knowing that these casuals didn't know better. They could have picked the one up early for cheaper, but we got to raise them up now. That's what we got to do because we know these GTA 6 supporters are going to come on this platform. They're going to pay for their $100 games, and we might even raise up the membership again because we know they're a bunch of fiends and they want to play Grand Theft Auto 6 online.
PlayStation 6, it seems like most of the internet is saying, bro, we just got started. Like, if you think about it, we're 5 years into this console generation.
For trash.
Sales...
we're 5 years into the generation, guys, and this man's so hyped up for a Gears of War, a 20-year-old game that was already remastered on Xbox One, which he didn't care about until it finally got the PS5 label. Now, all of a sudden, he's a fan of Gears of War. Like, bro, this is ridiculous, man. As far as I'm concerned, gaming sucks. I don't even care, man. I'm going to be honest with y'all. The Series X, y'all don't be thinking I'd be defending it, man. That's also trash, too, but it's way more tolerable. Does that make sense? It's more tolerable. But when it comes to Nintendo and PlayStation... It's embarrassing, man, to think that this is where gaming has become, honestly.
Are way, way down at PS5. I do think it's just because we're at a point where everyone that wants a PS5, they bought it. You know, the people that wanted a PlayStation 5 own
But
it.
that also shows you that gaming hasn't grown past that 300 million expected users of what gaming in regards to console or the big three has succumbed to. It has come to the realization that gaming has not grown. It's the same 300 million people that have been buying these platforms, or maybe ones that played and stopped playing and then one had to replace them. Because I'm telling you, if it wasn't for Fortnite, these systems would be dead.
So at this point, I do think that PlayStation's starting to sort of spin up those gears and go, okay, we need to have that next gen ready to go. I would not be surprised if we see a tease for it at the end of next year, at the end of 2020.
And if you can't buy it, Sony don't care, because as long as you paying them money to play PS5 online for GTA 6, they don't care. Gaming is done. You know, the concept of exclusivity is over. The concept of companies trying to maximize the potential of these next generation hardware is done, guys. They're going to make it with the lowest common denominator, and all you're going to do for paying an extra $1,000 to play is to play a better version of the game that they promised was 4K 120 on that system, but you're only going to get it on the other one. All those false advertisements is going to be for the new product, and you're probably still ain't even going to hit it. This is embarrassing, man. I'm sorry. Console gaming, y'all going out real bad, man. And I can see as to why people want to play on PC, because, I mean, at this point, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing already. You know what I mean? What is the point of these consoles?
6, maybe they start actually teasing about next gen, the way they had that long lead up to the PS5. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts.
Embarrassing. You know, it's embarrassing, man, to see games, because like I said, you know, back in my days when they had a console, they try to push it to the envelope. That's why they keep bringing up exclusivity. But now, you're going to have 3 different PlayStation 6s. You know, one low-end, one high-end version, one... Bro, and all these games are going to be played through one, which is good because Microsoft's doing it with the Play. But this is not... The days of the hardware pushing is over. Those days is over, man. You know, the days of playing Gears on the 360 for the first time and looking at those high-end visuals, the days of going from PlayStation 1 to 2 is over. At this point, all you're paying for is intergalactic 30 FPS, intergalactic 60 FPS on PlayStation 6. That's what you're paying for. That is literally what you're paying for. If you got the PS5 version of intergalactic, then it's going to run, the visual is going to be the same, but it's just weird, bro. I don't like it, man. This is PC stuff too, mind you. So this is why people say, I'm just going to PC. I'm just going to PC, because if this is what console gaming is becoming, then I don't see the point of it. But hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Like I said, I'm not really looking forward to it. I personally don't care. The only reason why I would get an Xbox because I have all my games and I like the freedom of what they're doing with the Xbox PC. And if it comes with all those launchers, that you already know. Like I said, these are things I haven't experienced before, so this will all be new to me. Maybe not to anybody else, but new to me, especially good old games. All right? Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, take care. Peace out.